I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a detailed look at the Pacsafe Vibe 325 anti-theft sling, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. So starting off with the materials here, on the outside we have a recycled nylon, a recycled polyester shell, and then a recycled polyester liner. So you can see there's a little bit of a ripstop pattern as well, which Pacsafe's gear is really designed to keep your gear safe and prevent theft. So there's also an Exo Mesh /guard insert here. So what that essentially is like stainless steel wires that make it harder for somebody to just like slash and run your pack. If you don't want the polyester version, there are some other alternative options online. At the time of this video, there's a nylon and other recycled materials as well, some of which are made from water bottles, some of which are made from like leftover fishing nets. So that's pretty cool if sustainability is something that you really like to focus on as well. So I'll just kind of walk you through the features on this pack here. The outside here on these zippers here are YKK. And here we have the Rhubar support locking system, which essentially just works to keep these zipper pulls from being able to be unzipped by anybody, anytime, anywhere. So you don't have to use this if you don't want to, but if you do want to do it, I can kind of give you a quick walkthrough on that. You can kind of look at these zipper pulls here are metal, and you can see they have like a triangular shape to them and a little bit of a gap. So these actually slot into each other. This side is the same. So if you want to put these together, you just kind of line them up as closely as possible. They slip right in, and then you can slide it into this little bar. And then same with this side here. Just double check I'm in the right spot. Yep, slides right in. And then you kind of have to align it perfectly to get them in, and it looks like there's not a ton of space there to hold it, and that is true, though when you slide this Exo bar in, it's able to get through, so you can lock both of these zippers at the same time, and then you push this one way or the other to lock it. So kind of give you a close-up there. So when you want to unlock it, push it here, lock it, push it that way, and then when it's unlocked, you can pull this out and then remove the zipper pull. So this was a little bit clunky for me to use when I had the pack actually on me, just because of how it was positioned. You can wear this on your front or your back. I primarily wore it on my back just because I think that's how it looked best. And so it sat a little bit high, and then when I would pull it forward, it sat awkwardly for me to be able to like get this open, because it was more off to one side than centered. And I understand kind of from like an aesthetic point that it makes a lot of sense to put it down here, but it was a little bit clunky for me to be able to get access to both of these zippers. And then in addition to that, because there's not a ton of space on this bar here, if you want to lock both of these zippered compartments at the same time, you do need to kind of coordinate it and hold it in one spot, which is a little bit harder to do when it's on your body and it's like very close to you. But in all, it's still a nice feature to have. If that security is something that you really like, then you don't have to buy your own locks or anything like that. And then they unhook pretty easily. And then going to the back of the sling here, we have a sort of like mesh back panel. It's not quite mesh in the sense that it's like open and breathable, but it does have a little bit of extra cushion to it, and it was comfortable to wear. And then same with the straps themselves. You can see that they're pretty thick, and that's an issue that I did run into, is the thickness of the strap. It felt like it sat very heavy on my shoulder. So that's, part of that is because of my frame, but I did see some other reports online that people were having a similar issue. So just something to keep in mind. It definitely sits a little bit heavy and higher here than it does on this lower half of it. But the lower half of it is sort of where it starts to shine again with that extra security and things like that. So these straps here have /guard as well. So there is like an additional wire on the inside. You can kind of see it. If I pull it up, you can kind of see how it's raised up on either side, and that's where that wire is. You can feel it too. It's a little bit stiffer, which I had problems with adjusting because it is a little bit stiffer. You can see like when it's just resting here, it's very looped and rounded. So if I was adjusting this before putting it on my body, you know, I say I wanted it a little bit tighter, or yes, I'm already a little bit tight, let's go looser. So say I want it a little bit looser, it kind of just automatically makes this weird little shape here. So it was a little bit of pulling, so it's like you pull it on the bottom and then it's not really aligned there, and they're a little bit thicker, so you kind of have to shove it through here and then get it over there, and it's a little bit of shuffling around. I found that I could mostly just set it and forget it, but the biggest issue that I had with that is that the way that I had it set made it a little bit tighter on my body, so then I had trouble just slipping in and out of it when I had a chunkier jacket on. If I had just like my normal clothes, if it wasn't, you know, colder and I didn't have to wear a jacket, then it was a little bit better. But for cold weather travel, that's something to keep in mind, that it could get a little bit fussy there. And then looking at this last little feature here, it's the pop and lock security clip. So you can see there's like a toggle right here, and then there's like trying to get autofocus to work on it. You can kind of see it. It's like a lock and then an unlocked. So when it's locked, obviously this thing isn't going anywhere. And then when you toggle it over to being unlocked, what you do is you just push this in, and then you can pull the entire thing out. So what this does is it allows you to lock your sling around like a pole or a chair or a table leg or something like that. So if you're sitting somewhere and you don't want somebody just like walking by and snatching it, then this is really great for that. And it's super quick and easy and like to use. So when you want to put it back in, you know, say you remove it from your table, then you just slide that right back in, put it into lock position, and you're good to go. That thing's not going anywhere. So in general, as usual, Pacsafe did a pretty good job at keeping this, you know, locked down. So if that security, like I said, is something that's important to you, this is a great option for that. So going into the actual bag itself, this front compartment is pretty flat, but still really roomy. So I kept just like quick grab items in here. And this mesh pocket is also great for smaller gear. But you can already see, like I've got a couple of small items down there, and in order to get to them, I have to like really go around what's in this main compartment, just because they do share that capacity. So this thing here is 10 liters. And so when you have this main compartment packed out, that's a good amount of space to be able to fill, but the more you fill that, the more it's going to cut into here. So just something to keep in mind. I usually found myself just keeping a few items in here if I did have this main compartment pretty packed out, but in general, both compartments are pretty easy to access, you know, just because the zipper pulls are right next to each other, and then if you don't have this locking system in, you can get in there really quick. So just sort of varies depending on what you prefer. And then opening up this main compartment, it's kind of like a half little clamshell here. It's like a half moon opening. And then there's a little bit of a gusset to give you extra space without making it so that it just completely falls open when you open it up. So in here, I just have, you know, a packing cube, but I would just add, you know, whatever I needed for that day in here. That, like I said, there's a fair amount of space with that 10 liters. And then on this side of it, there's a bit of organization for you. So there is a pen silo. I have a little liner pocket here with headphones, and then there's an additional liner pocket back here. That's great for like slightly larger items. And then a RFID safe pocket. So this one here has, you know, hook and loop closure, Velcro closure. So this is great if you have, you know, a slightly chunkier wallet. I mean, mine's still pretty low profile, and I would say that this is like kind of at the limit, right? So it takes up most of that pocket, and then it still is able to buckle, but the larger you get, the harder it's going to be to get things in there. But it's also great for a passport. So because it's RFID safe, if that's something you're worried about, then that's where you're going to want to keep that, though it is in the main compartment. So if you prefer to keep things in the other compartment, the, you know, quicker grab compartment, then, you know, that's a little bit unfortunate just because that RFID safe is in here. Though, like I said, it's pretty easy to get into either at any time. And then looking here, there is a zippered pocket with a key strap. It has just like a metal loop to it. And then this key strap itself is plastic, but it's pretty durable flat plastic. It doesn't have a lot of give to it, so it feels pretty sturdy. And then on the other side here, we have this is fits up to an 11-inch tablet. It's a little tablet sleeve. And there is a little bit of padding there. Not a ton, you can still see it's pretty flexible, but there is a little bit of extra cushion there for your tech. And then it butts up against this back panel here, so there's additional support there as well. One thing to note that I did notice throughout testing is that when I had this on my body and I wanted to get into it, because it doesn't open all the way down, I like everything that I wanted, I leaned toward like putting it here, because when it got over there, it's kind of hard to get to. So it does have sort of like a kind of almost like a traditional backpack, like top loading vibe, where you have to, you know, get all of your stuff in there, and then if you want something all the way down here, you do have to kind of sift around for it. And because you are going to be wearing this and it's going to be sitting straight up like this on your back, anything that's too heavy is going to fall down into that area too. So it's nice because if it does get a little bit too heavy, this doesn't open all the way and then everything dumps out. But on the other hand, it does, like I mentioned, get a little bit clunky for access. So overall, it's a pretty great option for security purposes, but in general, it was, you know, comfortable to wear, apart from a little bit of clunkiness getting the adjustment just right, and then with this top strap here being a little bit chunkier and falling a little bit like thicker around my top shoulder. And as well, it does have a decent amount of weight to it. It's, you know, it's 1 pound 4 ounces, or 0.56 kilograms. So, you know, it's already a little bit on the heavier side for a sling, but it does, when you like feel it, you can feel that like, oh, this is, you know, this is a chunky adjustment strap and a chunky buckle. And, you know, you can feel like that extra security that they put in there. And so as you add more gear, though, the weight does start to add up. So there you have it, the Pacsafe Vibe 325 Anti-Theft Sling Pack. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.